There are things we hold on to because we think they make us strong. Grudges, anger, the sharp memory of every hurt cataloged and preserved like evidence in a case we're still building against someone who may have forgotten we even exist. Maya believed her anger was her armor. She wore it well. So well, in fact, that she'd almost forgotten what her face looked like without it. She sat in her car outside her mother's house, engine off, hands gripping the steering wheel like it might float away if she let go. The text on her phone glowed in the dim evening light. "Your father is asking for you. Please come." Maya had deleted 6 drafts of a response before settling on silence. Silence was easier. Silence didn't require her to lie and say she'd think about it. Didn't require her to explain again why some wounds don't close just because time passes. Her mother knew why she wouldn't come. Everyone knew. They just pretended not to, because forgiveness was easier to demand than to understand. She started the engine and drove away from her mother's street, toward the life she'd built on purpose, the one where her father didn't exist, where his choices 14 years ago hadn't shattered their family like glass against tile, the one where she was doing just fine without him. Except she wasn't fine. Not really. And the tightness in her chest that arrived every time someone mentioned his name told her so. Maya's apartment was exactly how she needed it to be. Clean lines, neutral colors, nothing out of place. Control, order, the opposite of the chaos her father had left behind when he walked out on them for another woman, another family, another life that apparently mattered more than the one he'd made first. She was 16, old enough to understand betrayal, old enough to watch her mother cry herself hollow, old enough to decide that some people don't deserve second chances, and her father was one of them. Her phone buzzed. Another message from her mother. "He's not well, Maya. The doctors say..." She didn't read the rest. She silenced the phone and poured herself a glass of wine she didn't really want, standing at her kitchen window overlooking the amber sprawl of the city. Somewhere out there, in a house she'd never visited, the man who gave her her eyes and his stubbornness was dying. And she felt nothing. Or maybe she felt so much that nothing was easier to name. Her best friend Joy would tell her she was being cold. Joy, who still had both parents, who'd never had to choose between loyalty to her mother's pain and mercy toward her father's regret. Easy to preach forgiveness when you've never needed it yourself. But there was someone else who might understand. His name was Daniel. They'd met at a work conference 8 months ago, one of those chance encounters that felt less like coincidence and more like the universe deciding to intervene. He was a photographer, traveling the country documenting small businesses for a nonprofit. He had kind eyes and a laugh that sounded like someone who'd survived something but refused to let it make him bitter. They'd been seeing each other ever since, carefully, slowly, the way 2 people who'd both been burned before approached the idea of heat. She called him. He answered on the second ring, his voice warm with the assumption that she was calling just to talk, just to hear him the way she sometimes did. "Hey, you," he said. "Can I see you?" Her voice came out smaller than she intended. "Of course. I'm home. You okay?" "I will be." Daniel's apartment was the opposite of hers, lived in, full of books and cameras and plants he actually remembered to water. He opened the door already reading her face and didn't ask questions, just pulled her inside and held her in the doorway like she might break if he let go too soon. When she finally pulled back, he led her to the couch and waited. Maya told him about the text, about her father, about the 14 years of silence she'd built like a wall between them, brick by brick, hurt by hurt, about the way her mother kept asking her to let it go, to visit, to try, as if forgiveness was a switch she could just flip. Daniel listened the way he always did, present, patient, without the urge to fix what he couldn't. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "I need to tell you something I should have told you a long time ago." Maya looked at him, surprised by the shift in his tone. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, hands clasped. My dad died when I was 19. Heart attack, sudden. I didn't get to say goodbye. He paused, his jaw tightening. But here's the thing. I wouldn't have said goodbye even if I could. We weren't speaking. Hadn't been for 2 years. Maya's chest tightened. Daniel, he hit my mother, he said quietly. More than once. I watched it happen when I was younger, and I didn't understand what I was seeing, but when I got older, when I tried to protect her, he turned on me too. So I left, moved out, told myself I'd never forgive him, never speak to him again. My mother stayed with him, and I resented her for it, resented him for existing, and then he died. His eyes carrying something heavy. And you know what I felt? Maya shook her head. Relief, for about a week, and then nothing but regret. Not because I missed him, but because I realized I'd spent 2 years letting my anger decide who I was. I'd cut off my mother because she reminded me of him. I'd shut out half my family because they didn't condemn him the way I needed them to. I turned my pain into a prison, and I was the only one locked inside. Maya felt her throat tighten. But he hurt you. He hurt your mother. You had every right. I did. I had every right to be angry, but anger doesn't ask for permission to stay, Maya. You let it in to protect you, and it moves in, rearranges the furniture, changes the locks, and one day you wake up and realize it's not protecting you anymore. It's running your life. Maya drove home that night with Daniel's words circling her mind like birds that wouldn't land. She thought about her father, about the man he'd been before he left, the one who taught her to ride a bike, who made terrible jokes at breakfast, who told her she could be anything she wanted to be. She thought about the man he became, the one who chose someone else, who broke her mother's heart, who turned their home into a museum of what used to be. And she thought about herself, about the years she'd spent rehearsing her anger, keeping it sharp, ready to deploy at any mention of his name, about the relationships she'd kept at arm's length because trust felt like a trap door, about the way she learned to leave before she could be left, to hurt before she could be hurt. Her father had abandoned her once, all those years ago, but she'd been abandoning herself ever since. 3 days later, Maya stood in front of a modest house in a neighborhood she didn't recognize. Her mother had texted her the address without commentary, as if she knew Maya had already made her mind. She hadn't, but she was here, and that was something. Her father answered the door himself. He looked smaller than she remembered, thinner, grayer, the kind of tired that lives in the bones. His face when he saw her did something complicated. Surprise, hope, fear. Maya, he said, and his voice cracked on her name like old wood under pressure. She didn't hug him, didn't smile, just nodded and said, "Can we talk?" They sat in his small living room, a space that smelled like medicine and loneliness. Her father offered tea. She declined. The silence stretched between them, fragile and strange. "I don't know what to say," he finally admitted. "I've imagined this moment for 14 years, and now that you're here, I don't know what to say." "Then listen," Maya said, surprised by the steadiness in her own voice. "I'm not here because I forgive you. I'm not here because I suddenly understand why you did what you did. I'm here because I'm tired." Her father looked at her, waiting. "I'm tired of carrying you around in my chest like a stone. I'm tired of letting what you did decide how I love people, how I trust people, how I see myself." Her voice wavered, but she pushed through. "You hurt me. You hurt Mom. You broke something in me I didn't even know could break, and I spent 14 years making sure you knew it, making sure everyone knew it. But the only person who's been drowning in it is me." Her father's eyes filled, and he didn't try to hide it. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I know it doesn't fix anything. I know it's not enough, but I'm so sorry." Maya felt something crack open inside her. Not forgiveness yet, but space, room for something other than anger to exist.
I don't know if I'll ever be able to call you Dad again. I don't know if we'll ever be close, but I don't want to hate you anymore. I don't want to spend the rest of my life rehearsing your mistakes. So I'm here, and I'm trying. That's all I can give you right now." Her father nodded, tears streaming down his face. "That's more than I deserve."
Subscribe for part 2.